Hey everyone, welcome back to another lesson. In this one, we're going to actually dive a little bit deeper into built-in functions and also custom functions as well. So you can see them in example a little bit, so you see more in action per se. All right, so I have a few resources for you in the resource section. The first one is actually this page that you see right in front of me, is a list of built-in functions in Python. You can access it, as I said, and also you can actually access the empty Python file that I left for you, the replet. You can actually fork it and start practicing a little bit on it. Again, I want you to get comfortable with the idea of functions. So let's take a look at the built-in functions here. So if you take a look at this list, we have used actually a few of these. For example, we've used the print. We talked about sum. We talked about string, right? And also we talked about integers, right? So this is the one that we turn like a string into an integer, or same thing, we turn a number into a string or something like that. So that is, these are the few ones that we have talked about so far. Let me see if there's anything else that we have. There you go. We talked about inputs, right? That's pretty common. We use this all the time. So these are functions, essentially a package of code that we call in order to actually perform an action. So these are the built-in functions, and as we go, actually, we will talk more about this. I think we talked about minimum and maximum, if I'm right. I could be wrong about this. Also, we talked about length, right? Take a look. There's another one, length. So we talked about this one. This is essentially going to tell you how long a string or a variable is. What else we talked about? Let's see. We talked about range as well. So this is something we talked about in the while loop section. So again, that tells us it looks at the range between like certain numbers and all that. So we've talked about a few of them so far, and as we go down through the course, we will talk about more of these functions. So again, one of the things about, as I said, about programming is that you don't have to learn every single thing. By the way, you kind of learn as you go and as you put these functions to use, really. So just keep that in mind. I think we talked about float as well. So I'm just seeing all this stuff that we talked about. Anyways, so these are built-in functions. You can read more about them. I'm going to leave the link for you guys so you can check it out. But let's go ahead and do a little bit of a practice here. So what I want to do is I want to define a function. Now my function, I wanted to actually check whether someone entered the name right or not. All right, so usually the way we do this, let's actually just define a variable. I'm just gonna say input, and we're gonna say please enter your name. And just like that, the first thing we did, we called a function, right? This is the built-in input function. So that's that. So usually we can actually use an if and else statement, right? So for example, we can say if name equals Sean, for example. Let's actually make this lowercase, lower, so that way we actually turn this to lowercase letters, so it's easier to check if someone enters all uppercase or something like that. So we can say, we're going to say if name is Sean, we can say print welcome back Sean, and else we're gonna say print, we're gonna say you're not Sean. Just like that. So very simple, right? So we did this again, if and else statement, and let's actually run this real quick. There we go. So please enter your name. I'm just gonna say, for example, Sean. It's gonna say welcome back Sean. If I enter the wrong name, it's gonna say you're not Sean, right? Very simple. So imagine this, right? Imagine we need to use this over and over in our project. Maybe this is like a condition system that checks someone's username or password, right? Something like that. So imagine we need to use this over and over. So how do we actually do this? Do we have to call this every time, 4 lines of code every time? Or we can actually turn this into a function. And the way we do this is we can say define, and we give it a name, or def, and then we give a name. For example, I'm going to say name check, and then we're going to do an open and close parentheses, right? And colon. And just like that, we define the function. Now, keep in mind, with the functions, you need to indent it. That's very important. Anything that you want to have under a function needs to be indented. So I'm going to indent all of this. And just like that, we actually went into the indentation. We added all of this into this function called name check. Now, one of the things, again, if you take a look, is that if I run this code right now, nothing is going to happen beside this name entry. So let me actually run this real quick, and I'm going to say Sean, and there you go. Nothing's going to happen. So think about it. Think about why this actually happened. Like why we didn't see this print. Like we're supposed to see this, right? But why we're not seeing this? And the reason for that is because we actually turned all of this code into a function. That means that now it is under this function. So in order for us to use this, we need to actually call this function, right? And the way you call this function, or any function, is again like any other function that you call. You say name, or enter the name of the function, and there you go. So now if I actually run this code again, because we called this function, now we're going to be able to run this. Now take a look. Just gonna say Sean, and there you go. It says welcome back, Sean. So guys, this is how you define a function, and this is how you call a function. And again, we will dive deeper into functions later on, but in this section I just want to get you familiar with functions, and we want to do a lot of visual practices, because I want you to really understand this, because beside if and else statements and while loops and all that stuff, functions and defining custom functions is something you will see all over any Python code, and because they're extremely important, because they're gonna save you so much time, and they're gonna just really make everyone's life easier when you're actually coding something. So it's really important to understand what is exactly going on. So indentation is extremely important, and also anything that goes under it is going to be defined as a function. So if you want to come out of it, you need to actually just come out of the indentation, essentially. All right, so let me know if you have any questions so far, guys. I just want to kind of introduce you to this. We're going to get into our fun practice next video, and we're going to do some really visual stuff to help you understand. Let me know if you have any questions. If not, I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you practice this. Again, I left the links for you guys to fork this for yourself, as well as a link to this page, so you can actually take a look at some of the built-in functions as well. But again, we will practice this more and more. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next lesson.